Gamal and to Dina, please try to answer this question. Do you know who is the political power emerging out of this revolution? This number one. Number two, do you think the Muslim Brotherhood will take a role in this revolution? I'm saying this because of we are fed about the scare tactics. The Taliban, the Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood, the Hamas, this is the scare tactics they are using against this kind of revolution. Do you think there is a truth behind this? Thank you.
Dr. Harden, would you like to take that first, and then Dina?
Okay. From what I have, from what I have heard and seen during the past few days, that the Muslim Brothers are not really interested in taking power. If they have a representative, it just would be like any other opposition party in Egypt. So, but somehow the West is really playing on that, and if they say if Mubarak's regime falls, then the Muslim Brothers are going to take over, and then that will be anti-Western attitude. I'm not really sure, because many of the leaders in the Muslim Brothers made it very clear that they are not interested in ruling Egypt, or if they were invited to be a part of the government, they would respond. But other than that, no.
Okay, and Dina?
I think that you're absolutely right, that the Islam and the Islamist movements are used as a bogeyman to scare the West. And if we look at both the revolution in Tunisia and in Egypt, they have been secularly led. They were led by grassroots movements. They have been prepared to by strikes in Egypt for the last several years among the unions. There's the whole social network, Facebook, Twitter, what have you. There's been a lot of organization that underlies all of this. And if we look at the chants that are said, the slogans, whether in all the demonstrations all across the Middle East, there is an insistence on the unity between Christians and Muslims. There are several chants that start with the crescent and the cross against, dictator, against whatever. So I think, and then regarding the poetry question, the poet that might have emerged from the thing, was that your first question? Oh, okay. I'll skip the poetry.
Okay. No poetry.
Quick comment on that, yes, from Ahmed?
All right. So just beyond the sort of the political discourse, we in the scientific community, people in academia, it is really important to distinguish when we say Islamist, that we have a spectrum that runs all the way from the most extreme to the most moderate. So it is very important to kind of realize that's the difference. I mean, just to give you a quick example about the Ikhwan, we know we've heard about the second man in Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri. He's from Egypt, but he spent 1 decade vilifying the Ikhwan, just to give you a sense of how different these organizations could be. I mean, there is a great deal of difference. Now, if you look at Nahda in Tunisia, is an Islamist movement, but it is extremely secular in its outlook and liberal in its outlook, but it is an Islamist. I just thought that's a very important distinction to make.
Okay, next question. Do we have anyone over here? Yeah, okay.
I guess let's switch gears for a bit. No Palestine-Israel question from me.
Okay.
But what I saw interesting from all the coverage is what I saw interesting in the situation is the close relationship between the people of Egypt and their army, and I think this goes back a long way. And my question is, how much of this that's shown on TV is genuine brotherhood between the army and the people, and how much of it is controlled by the fact that all eyes are on Egypt, whether it be through TV, internet, etc. And had there not been all these outlets to show exactly what's happening in Egypt, do you think there was any possibility to begin with that the army would have attacked the people?
Dr. Gamal, would you like to take that?
Sure. 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 As you know, Mubarak is from the army. His deputy is from the army. His prime minister is from the army. And of course you have, sorry, thank you. And of course you have on the cabinet now, this is exactly the same person that was before, and that's, what's his name? No. No. I'll remember in a minute. Tantawi, thank you. Tantawi. Okay. Now, here is something which is really very unclear even to many Egyptians. The army was asked not to interfere in the demonstration, was asked even to protect the demonstrator, okay, or at least stay neutral, okay? This is really very confusing because all the people that are mentioned are military, right? And now it seems that this is something that they are playing out to show that the army is on the side of the Egyptian people. But in the meantime, if the army has real authority, and they do, and they want to do something, they would ask Mubarak to step down. Because now not stepping down at this moment is causing a lot of problems, especially financial, economic problems. Egypt is losing $70 million a day. And to begin with, Egypt in general is not a rich country. There's only a few people who have the wealth, which already have been taken out of the country. And the idea that I think the District Attorney General has given orders to prevent few people from leaving the country and then freezing their assets. Most of these assets have already been left the country. Okay, so the army kind of stand is not really very clear even to me. Yeah. Okay.
I think I concur with what Dr. Gamal said about the position of the army in Egypt. It's not clear, and I'm sure from my reading of it is definitely Mubarak right up to now. As this, in opposition to the position of the army in Tunisia, they're very clear. And now the reports we're getting from Tunisia is that the army and certain members of the security even gave an ultimatum to the president to leave, and that's the reason why he fled. So that's what we saw. The army was very clear. Ammar was very clear from the beginning. They refused to go ahead and shoot the demonstrators, and those are two positions. If you go to Algeria, Tunisia or Algeria is run by the army. They own the country. That's a complete. In Morocco, it's also in Morocco probably the army. The army will definitely side with the king. So you have different versions of how the army would fit in all of these cases.
Okay. Dr. Susser, did you want to say something?
Just one point about the army. Just the same way as we shouldn't generalize about the Islamists or generalize about anything that we've spoken about, I also say don't generalize about the Egyptian army. Mm-hmm. The people who overthrew the monarchy in 1952 were not the generals. They were the junior officers. And the question that one should really ask about the Egyptian army now is the generals may be very loyal to Mubarak, mm-hmm. but are the junior officers, the lieutenants and the captains and the majors, mm-hmm. are they with the generals or are they with the demonstrators? That is an open question, and I think will decide the outcome of this whole story.
Okay. Sami?
Just a very short comment about the image itself. I think in the Egyptian collective memory, the army has been perceived by most Egyptians as being loyal to the people. It's actually, to be in the army is mandatory by law to be there for all Egyptians. All my family has been served in the army. So, and since it's a formation by Ibrahim Pasha, which was the vizier or the deputy of Muhammad Ali, all the Egyptian army tasks have been perceived as being mainly national interests. So now the army is a very difficult position to actually about politics and what's going on there. Thank you.
Over here, yeah.
This question is pointed toward Dr. Lucas concerning Yemen. So I agree with you completely that the primary conflict for Yemen, the primary issue for Yemen right now isn't political secession. But if we were to consider political secession in Yemen, in 2005, President Ali al-Saleh promised not to run again for re-election, yet in 2006 he stood again to another 7-year term as president again. And he, I think a week ago, a few days ago, promised in 2013 not to run again. Would he, number one, would he actually keep that promise and not run again? And were he not to run again, who would be the figures that would be capable of running Yemen, of presiding over the government of Yemen? Would it come from the military, be figures such as Ali Mohsen, or from the clergy, Zindani, or would it be kind of from the president's same clan, like a relative of Saleh, or is that even capable? And I guess I want your opinion on who could run Yemen as it is now, or would it kind of just split up into 2 countries again? What would happen?
I'd recommend Hosni Mubarak. Good. He's very good. No, in all seriousness, this is a serious problem. Who would succeed when you're a ruler since 1978 in a country with very deep divisions, especially tribal, but also some religious? It's not immediately clear, and I think some of the top military folk are his relatives and all. That's been a real problem. Who would actually succeed him? Anyone who'd like to know a lot more about Yemen, I'd refer to my former student who is now pursuing a PhD at Princeton University. His name is Gregory Johnson, and it's easy to find him because he spells it Johnson with an E, Johnsен, I believe it is. And he blogs regularly on this. I think he's actually in Cairo right now. He's been blogging from there as an observer, and he's observing quite a lot. But he really is deeply aware of what's going on in Yemen. He goes there every year. I don't think the Islamist party, Islah, I don't think has a chance. Even though this demonstrator who's been getting a lot of attention, Tawakkul Karaman, I believe is her name, she's from the Islamist party. So this is not that unusual. Islamists often promote women to high positions, so for a variety of reasons that we don't need to get into. And her father's in the parliament as well. But Islah has like 30 seats in the parliament. They don't have a lot of sway, and they depend on tribes for any, in some ways as well. So it's a huge issue, and that's probably one reason why the president stayed in power so long.